I just got done reading Kobe Bryant's book, The Mamba Mentality, How I Play, and there's 3 things in here that I noticed that helped me find success in my trading. Here's what I learned. Number 1, stick with what works, even if it's unpopular. Kobe talks about how he focused on mastering the basic fundamentals first, like footwork and spacing, and says it's something becoming less and less popular in today's game. Nowadays, the focus is more on playing off the dribble, meaning being more fancy with the ball handling and taking fancy shots. And it's gotten to a point where a player would actually have an advantage over the majority of the league now if they just learn the basic fundamentals like footwork, the simple things that gave all the past great players success. So his approach was, why change that? This is also true for trading. It's easy for me to get caught up with the hundreds of indicators out there, thinking it's some magical crystal ball, but it really comes down to the basic fundamentals, and that is, can I read charts or not? And when I say read charts, I mean have a deep understanding of it, almost like a language. Think of it like this. If I had to learn French, there's a couple of ways I can approach this. One is use Google Translate to just translate everything for me, which I know isn't always accurate. 2, I can have a friend who is fluent at it teach me and memorize some basic phrases. Or 3, I can actually put in the time and effort and learn the language properly. So if I'm new to trading, using a bunch of indicators to tell me how to read a chart is like using Google Translate. If I'm watching TikTok videos to learn a couple of patterns like head and shoulders or bull flags, that's just like learning a few phrases of a whole language. But if I can master the language of reading charts, then I don't really need everything else. Does that make sense? One of the OGs of trading, Jesse Livermore, he traded by just using the tape. And if you've seen any of my live trading videos, you only see me use one indicator, the moving averages, nothing else. Now, I'm not saying indicators are completely useless. I mean, even though I'm fluent in English, sometimes I still need a dictionary, right? But the point is, if I'm moving away from the basic fundamentals of reading charts and heavily relying on these indicators, I think is a bit misguided. And I know they look sexy on the screen and they make me feel like Tony Stark, but I personally found that the more deeper understanding I have of the language of reading charts, the less use I have for these indicators. So stick with what works, even if it's unpopular. It's all about mastering the fundamentals first. Number 2, film study. It's all about the details. After each game, Kobe would rewatch the game to analyze what he and the team could have done better. He's imagining alternatives, options, counters, why some actions work and others don't. He's also studying his opponents so that the next time he plays against them and has to defend them, he's more prepared. And I always knew he watched a lot of film, but I just realized I used to do the same exact thing in the beginning of my career, which helped accelerate my personal success. When I first started trading, I used this feature on Thinkorswim called On Demand. It's this amazing feature where it archives every single day of the market's action. So I can go back days, weeks, months, even years, and replay any stock that's traded that day. I can rewind, fast forward, do different playback speeds. And I use this a lot to practice backtest strategies and review my trades. So I'd write in a trading journal sheet every day. I write down all the trades I took, all the ideas, and even the ones I passed on. Then after the close, I would go back and use the on-demand feature on Thinkorswim to review the trades, see what followed through, what didn't, and why. And most importantly, how I can improve my management. Because no matter how perfect the setups are, I'm never gonna bet 100%. So the goal here is to see how I can maximize the winners and minimize the losers, seeing what I could have done better. Do I have the habit of getting out too early, or am I getting out too late based off the plays I'm taking? I spent hours in the pre-market analyzing gaps. And then after the close, I would go back and review to see how they actually all played out and studying what made me right or wrong about my analysis. And I did that every single day. Why? Well, this goes back to my first point about being able to read charts. This is a way for me to practice getting better at this language. The live trading videos that I put here on YouTube is actually for me. It's a way for me to see how I'm trading, how I'm reacting, how I'm feeling, how I'm performing, and to see how I can come back better for tomorrow. So if you want to learn a lot about yourself, try recording yourself trading. It's all in the details. And finally, number 3, if you really want to be great at something, you have to truly care about it. You have to obsess over it. Kobe was someone known for his work ethic, that Mamba mentality, right? But what drove him was his obsession over the game of basketball. Back in 2000, when he severely sprained his ankle in Game 2 of the NBA Finals, he had to miss most of that game and all of Game 3, which he absolutely hated. So to avoid that from happening again, he actually took up tap dancing to strengthen his ankles, which no one has really done before. And it actually ended up helping with his foot speed and rhythm as well. He's also someone that's read the entire referee handbook, just so that he knows where the referees are supposed to be positioned around the court at all times. And what he figured out was that there's these blind spots, or what he calls dead zones, depending on where the ball was, and use that to his advantage. It always fascinates me to see people who are masters and extremely dedicated to their craft. Free Solo is one of my favorite documentaries ever, and it's about rock climbing. I have zero interest in it, but seeing Alex Honnold's passion, dedication, and sacrifice into climbing the El Capitan was the most inspiring thing ever. He memorized every single crevice and finger and foot placement for his 3,000 feet climb without a rope. Arguably the greatest achievement by an athlete. Jiro dreams of sushi. Another great documentary about a chef, Jiro, who dedicated his entire life into making sushi. He spent years and just focused on cooking rice. He spent years dedicated to just roasting the seaweed. Sacrificed years to just making eggs before even mastering putting sushi together. Kobe says a lot of people say they want to be great, but they're not willing to make the sacrifices necessary to achieve greatness. And I believe this kind of dedication comes from an obsession. There has to be some sort of passion in what we do. Nobody told me to record myself trading. Nobody told me to spend hours reviewing my trades every single day. This is just something I did on my own for fun. Think about any hobbies. When I was buying my first set of golf clubs or gaming monitors, do you know how many hours I spent researching, watching reviews, or reading articles about them? Not once did I go, oh, I have to watch another review again? No, it just comes naturally because I'm genuinely interested in it. But if I had to sit down and learn about poems and Shakespeare, shoot me now, right? Not that it's impossible for me to master it, but because I have zero interest in it, how much easier is it for me to get burnt out? How much longer would it take me compared to someone who is absolutely obsessed over it? So I believe it's important to have some degree of passion in what we do. This YouTube channel, I don't do it for the money. I'll tell you right now, it doesn't even cover my groceries, all right? I do it because I love trading. I call this the greatest video game in the world, and I have bigger plans for myself with what I can bring to the day trading community who share the same passion as I do. And the worst thing I can do is to get complacent. I always have to be seeking for perfection, even though there may be no such thing. As Kobe puts it, it's all about the journey, not the destination. So number one, stick with what works. It's all about mastering the fundamentals first. Then number two, it's all about the detail. The learning doesn't stop after the market closes. Constantly reviewing, adjusting, and refining. And number three is to be obsessed. Never stay complacent, and always strive for perfection. So if you're a Kobe fan or basketball fan like I am, I highly recommend this book. He's someone gone way too soon, and hearing stories and reading about Kobe's work ethic never fails to remind me that there's always something I can be doing to get better. So I hope this was helpful. As always, I appreciate you for being here, and I hope to see you on the next one. Kobe.